Hey, it is Monday, and you know what that means? It's another episode of Snipes and Stripes Weekend Edition. We have a lot to talk about today, a lot of drama going around in the league, and I don't even know where to start. I'm going to save Toronto maybe till the last because I could do a whole show on the debacle that's going up there and that's going on in Toronto right now. But first of all, I want to thank our sponsors, Whiskey in the Wild, my good friend and partner, Jeremy Roenick's Whiskey. Also, want to thank you to Protected, the new neck guard that has been approved by the National Hockey League that I have with Ray Barilli, the St. Louis Blues trainer. And also to Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all your summer sports this season, from MLB, golf, NBA, and NHL playoff stats. All the latest stats, news, and scores available to follow your favorite teams. Get the latest odds and lines, including the latest team matchups, player props, and odds on just about every sport out there. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to get in on the action. Bet Online, where the game starts. Thank you very much to Bet Online for being a sponsor in the first season of Snipes and Stripes. A lot going on yesterday. Phenomenal hockey. I'm going to actually go to the Nashville Vancouver series. And Vancouver is playing their third string goaltender, a kid by the name of Arturs Shilvos. I think he's from Latvia. And Thatcher Demko was hurt after the first two games. And then their second string goaltender Casey DeSmet is also hurt. So they bring in this unknown goaltender, Arturs Shilvos, and I'm using my good friend Darren Pang's pronunciation there. I was watching the game, and if anybody has done the research, I know Panger has, and he knows how to pronounce this. But I'm watching this game yesterday. Brock Besser was an absolute stud, scoring 3 goals for Vancouver. They're losing the game, and Colton Sissons has a chance to put the game away. And they've got an empty net. Vancouver's pulled their goalie. They've got an empty net, and he hits the goalpost. And there was a little bit of a premature celebration on the Nashville bench. A few of the players raised their arms. Andrew Burnett, the head coach, actually gave a fist pump, but the puck hit the net, or hit the post. And Brock Besser scores with 2 minutes and 46 seconds to go. And then they go to overtime. And sorry, I want to pull this game up here. They go to overtime, and a guy that's kind of been quiet this whole series, Elias Lindholm, scores the OT winner. But before we got to overtime, Brock Besser scored with 2 minutes and approximately 45 seconds to go. They pull their goalie. Brock Besser again ties it up with 8 seconds to go, and then we get into overtime, and Lindholm scores a winner. So Vancouver goes to Nashville with their second and third string goaltenders, and they win game 3 and 4 in Nashville, which I do not think anybody saw this happening. And they go back to Vancouver with a 3-1 series lead. It's unimaginable, really. It's unfathomable, because this was an opportunity for Nashville, playing against a good Vancouver team, but without their number one starting goaltender, to kind of put themselves in a position where they could win this series. And you could see the look on the Nashville players' faces at the end of that game. And they were like, what just happened here? How did we lose this game? We're up 2 goals with less than 3 minutes to go, and we lose and that's what the great thing about sports is. It's such a fine line. Last year in the Stanley Cup finals, or the Stanley Cup playoffs, Brad Marchand has a breakaway in Game 5 against the Florida Panthers. Boston is up 3-1 in the series. He has a breakaway with 5 seconds to go. If he scores on that breakaway, Boston wins. They win in 5 games very easily. He doesn't score. Bobrovsky stops him on the breakaway. Florida comes back, ties it up, wins it in overtime, and the rest is history. They go on to the Stanley Cup Finals. So that's what a fine line it is in the Stanley Cup playoffs, that a team could actually have even the series 2-2. Instead, they're now down 3-1, a big hole, all because the guy in Colton Sissons hit the post. So they've got a lot of work ahead of them, but I'm certainly not counting out Nashville. But it'll be interesting to see how they rebound off of this, because that was a really tough loss yesterday. Let's get to Dallas Vegas. Game 5 is tonight. Game 4 is tonight. I'm sorry. On Saturday, Wyatt Johnson, who, as his coach Pete DeBoer said, isn't old enough to go into a casino, scores the overtime winner, and it was very impressive. This kid, I love watching this kid. He's a tremendous player, and now we've got a series. Golden Knights are up 2-1. Game 4 is tonight in Vegas. Dallas losing the first 2 games at home. I don't know if anybody really saw that happening. But Vegas is a good hockey team. But the Jake Ottinger needs to play better. He's played average the first 2 games. He played very well on Saturday. He had 43 saves. He had 32 saves. Logan Thompson for Vegas was phenomenal. He had 43 saves. This, I think, is going to be a 7-game series. We need more 7-game series. We had a sweep yesterday, but this is going to be a great game tonight to watch. I can't wait. It starts at 8:30. The only other game we have tonight is Tampa at Florida. We'll touch on that series right now. This series could easily be 2-2. Tampa loses at home in Game 3 in overtime, and Tampa has played Florida tough. I give the Tampa team a ton of credit. This Florida team, as we all know, is such a phenomenal hockey team. This Florida team is what Tampa was 2 and 3 years ago, and the tide has shifted, and it's moved in Florida's favor. They're younger, they're faster, they're tougher. But this series, like I said, could easily be 2-2. Tampa won Game 4 to avoid a sweep, won 6-3 at home. Game 5 will be tonight back in Florida. Should be a phenomenal game. I'm hoping Tampa can win this game tonight. This is too good of a series to be done in 5 games. So let's hope that Tampa can win this tonight. LA Edmonton. Last night, 1-0 game. Stuart Skinner makes 32 saves. The LA team held a potent Edmonton lineup to 12 shots on net, which is very impressive. Evan Bouchard scored the only goal on a power play set up by Connor McDavid. Big shocker there. Connor McDavid's been a stud so far in this series. So 3-1 series lead. LA just does not have the offense. You can't listen. They bring in David Rittich last night to take over from Cam Talbot. Rittich, like I said, he only had to make 12 saves, but he did that, and give him credit. But LA just can't score. And I remember we had Dennis Bernstein on last week, and I asked Dennis, I said, what's your biggest concern about the LA Kings playing the Oilers in this series? And he said their goal scoring. And this was a chance for, with the shitty year that Pierre-Luc Dubois had in the regular season, making 8 sheets a year and getting 40 points this year. Basically he shit the bed the entire season. This was a chance for him to redeem himself in the playoffs, and he's yet to do so. This is a deal I would not be surprised if Rob Blake, the general manager of the LA Kings, they may buy this guy out at the end of the season, and that will be expensive. But I think they only would have to count $1 million against the salary cap for the next 8 years. That would be way better off than the $8 million that he's going to be making over the next 7 years after this year. The guy is just not an $8 million player, and this is a contract that I know that they regret giving this guy because he's just not worth it. So Edmonton, too good of a team. They're up 3-1. There's no way they're losing this series. And LA, just like I said, they can't score enough goals. Colorado, Winnipeg. After game one in Winnipeg, a game in which Winnipeg won 7-6. Winnipeg looked so good, even though they allowed 6 goals, but scoring 7. Grigoriev, hard to pronounce, the goaltender for Colorado, didn't look great after game one. He had also struggled the last month of the season, and people were like, Colorado's done. Winnipeg's got a really good team. They got a really good hockey team. And so what happens? Colorado wins game 2, gets a little momentum after winning game 2 in Winnipeg. And I said to Dennis the other day, Bernstein, when we were on, I said, you've got now Colorado going back home for games 3 and 4. Colorado was really tough to beat at home this season. And sure enough, what do? They win games 3 and game 4. Hellebuck has been god awful in the playoffs. Yesterday, allowing 4 goals on 26 or on 30 shots, he made 26 saves. He just hasn't been good. Like, this guy's probably going to win the Vezina Trophy this year, but he's just played shitty the entire playoffs. He's not making those big saves that we've come to expect and seen of him in the past 2 years, and especially this year. This year he was phenomenal during the regular season, and a big part of Winnipeg's success. And Winnipeg, I don't know where they got away from this defensive system that they had, but they went 32 games this year in which they allowed 2 goals or less. That is a phenomenal stat. And but they do not have it right now, and I don't see them. They may win game 5 back in Winnipeg. Colorado's up 3-1 in the series. I just don't see them giving it up. You've got guys like Val Nichushkin, who was very good the last couple of years for Colorado in the playoffs. He ran into some problems last year and had to step away from the team because of an incident at the hotel. We entered the NHL substance abuse program. He's got 5 goals this year already. It's unbelievable. And I remember this guy when he played in Dallas a few years ago. It was he was either my last year or second last year in the league. And he went 52 games in Dallas without scoring a goal. And I thought, this guy, his career's done. He's a shell of the player that he used to be. But I give this guy credit, man, especially with all the off ice problems he's had. He's reinvented his game the last couple of years, and this guy, come playoff time, is a big time player. And another player for Colorado is Arturi Lehkonen. He's got 4 goals this year already in the playoffs. And this was a guy that played for Montreal and was considered a third line checking forward, didn't score goals, was simply there to prevent goals from being scored against their team. And this guy has already got 4 goals. Grigoriev yesterday allows 1 goal on 27 shots, made 26 saves. He's really rebounded well. So kudos to Colorado. And it's a 3-1 series. This could easily go 6 games, but I think we'll see Colorado come out on the winning this series. We had a sweep yesterday. Carolina and the Rangers and the Caps. I said last week that, or 10 days ago when this series started, that it did nothing for me. When the game came on, I went and dusted and vacuumed and did some yard work around the house. You've got a team, the only team in the NHL playoffs that had a minus goal differential of 34 goals. Teams that score less goals that they allow normally do not make the playoffs. Somehow Washington got in because of Pittsburgh and Detroit's ineptability to close it out down the road. I said it at the beginning of the playoffs. I would have rather seen Detroit and Pittsburgh or even Philly in the playoffs. Washington just didn't have it. Ovi was non-existent. He just doesn't have the team around him that he once has. He didn't have the Backstrom and the Kuznetsovs and these guys. I'll give my buddy TJ Oshie a lot of credit. Rumors are, and it's probably true, he played game 4 yesterday with a broken hand. This guy's been the ultimate warrior his entire career. I have nothing but respect and admiration for TJ Oshie. Good on the Rangers, and this is going to be a team that is going to be a force to be reckoned with. I think if the Islanders, if my research is correct, I think the Hurricanes would play the Rangers next if the Hurricanes beat the Islanders. Hurricanes are up 3-1 in the series. Series could be easily 2-2 if it wasn't for the debacle at the end of game 2 by the Islanders, allowing 2 goals in 9 seconds, not even getting it to overtime. The series could be a 2-2 series, but it's not. It's a 3-1 series. I see Carolina winning this series, and if they do, it'd be a heck of a matchup against the Rangers. Let's get to Boston and Toronto. Man, oh man, it is an absolute train wreck in Toronto right now. The fans are losing their mind. You got players on the bench fighting each other. You got the coach making absolutely insane decisions late in the game. Let me paint the picture. They're at home on Saturday night. They're losing 3-1 to Boston. And Sheldon Keefe, who I think he thinks he's smarter than what he is. I made a comment on social media that I think he could get out coached by a team in the New Brunswick Senior League. And that's no disrespect to the New Brunswick Senior League because that's good hockey back down there in the Maritimes. But he's got Ryan Reeves out with 3 minutes to go, and you're down by 2 goals. Now, how many goals has Ryan Reeves scored for you this year? 2, 3, 4? Not many. And he was the reason that Boston scored the first goal because he couldn't get the puck out of his end on the sidewall. And it was a costly turnover that led to the Boston's first goal to make it 1-0. What Sheldon Keefe, why are you putting Ryan Reeves on the ice with 3 minutes to go? First of all, I don't even think Ryan Reeves should be in the lineup. He can't keep up with the pace of play. He's a 40, 50, maybe you play him 60 games in the regular season, but you cannot have him in the lineup every game. It is hurting your team when you have a guy that you can't in the playoffs. You got to roll 4 lines. You got to keep rolling guys, and this guy is not fast enough to keep up to the pace of the NHL playoffs. You've got players fighting on the bench. You've got Mitch Marner acting like literally a peewee player, taking his gloves off, throwing them down on the bench. It's just embarrassing. Like, I have respect for every and any player that plays in the NHL, because guess what? I wasn't good enough to play in the NHL. The only way that I was going to make it there was as a referee, because these guys are so good. They're so talented. And Mitch Marner, his skill set is unbelievable. But the kid does not know how to play in the playoffs. He cannot win a battle to save his life. I see him going. He takes the long route in. If the puck's in the corner, he takes the long route in. He's not going to be the first guy because he doesn't want to get hit. He's getting knocked down in front of the net very easily. This guy does not have the jam right now to lead this team from a 3-1 deficit, to lead this team back. And you see Nylander, who I don't know what to believe with William Nylander. I don't know what to believe. They're saying he had migraines, but then when he got interviewed, they said, "How are you feeling?" And he said, "Oh, I feel great. I felt great the past 3 days." Well, if you felt great the past 3 days, then how come you're not playing? Like, I don't understand it. I know people that have migraines. I couldn't imagine trying to play an NHL game, let alone a playoff game, with a migraine. But then the reporters ask you how you're feeling, and you said, "Great, I've been skating the last 3 days and I feel great." Well, if I'm his teammates, I'm going, well, if you feel great and you've been skating, why aren't you in the lineup? And then you've got him on the bench looking to Mitch Marner and going, just shoot the puck. This isn't junior hockey. Suck it up. And this team is not a cohesive unit right now. You've got Austin Matthews. He left. Listen, I don't know. He left. He didn't play the third period because he was sick. What do you mean he was sick? The doctors wouldn't allow him to play the third period because he was sick. I don't know. I don't know if I've ever heard that before. Unless you are so sick that you're puking in the stall in the bathroom, you are finishing this game. You were finishing this game, and you were telling the team doctors. You know, I got in shit one time in Ottawa. I took a puck off the head, so they hauled me off the ice. I knew I was fine. They said, "Hey, we're not going to let you ref the third period because you took a puck off the head." I go, "I feel fine. I'm fine." And they go, "You're not going on." And I go, "No, I am going on." And I grabbed my helmet and I jumped out into the play as the game was going on. And I get a call from the league the next morning going, "You got to follow the NHL doctor's advice. And, you know, you can't be going." I go, "I know, but I wanted to get back out in the action, and I'm just a ref." If you're just sick and you've got the flu, how are you not finishing this game? I'm telling you right now, Ryan O'Reilly would, Brad Marchand would, Nathan McKinnon would, Connor McDavid would. These guys that know how to win, they would be finishing this game. So unless you are puking on the bench, which I did not see, or puking in the dressing room, you're finishing this hockey game. Because guess what? You've got 2 days off to get better. Okay? to not finish this game absolutely blows me away. They don't have the leadership on this team. I said it, I think it was November 2nd, and JR was like, "Whoa, that's a big statement you're saying." I said you need to strip the captaincy of Jonathan Tavares back in early November. When Liljegren, one of your best defensemen, got upended by Brad Marchand and was out for, I think, at least 6 weeks, and there was no pushback from the Toronto Maple Leafs in that game. Reeves didn't do anything. Matthews didn't do anything. Marner certainly didn't do anything. Back end, uh, the back end defenseman didn't do anything. But your captain, Jonathan Tavares, I said then he should be stripped of his captaincy because he should have gone out after their captain, Brad Marchand, and said, F you, you're going to hurt one of our best defensemen. I'm going to take out one of your guys. I'm sorry, but this is the NHL and this is how it works. And the snowflakes might not like it, but you need to take business into your own hands, take matters into your own hands sometimes. And when one of your best players is hurt, there's got to be retribution. And people don't like to hear that, but that's what goes on in the NHL. And if you want to win and get to the next level, that's the kind of jam you have to have. Those are the kind of balls you have to have. Jonathan Tavares has been there for 6 years. And guess what? They've been out of the first round one time. And when he was the captain of the New York Islanders, they didn't do anything in Long Island. They did jack shit in Long Island. Nothing. So guess what? I'm looking at the history of Jonathan Tavares. Talented player, great guy, classy guy. But is he the leader of this team? Because that's what the leader is. When you're wearing the C, Matt Sundin was the leader for that team. Okay, he was the captain. He was a leader on that team. Other captains on that team were leaders. This guy is not the leader of the team. It's embarrassing right now. It's embarrassing that he's making $11 million a year and can't stand up and say enough is enough and take a run at somebody. I said it. I said it on a Boston show last week. I said, if I have to put money on the line, game is on the line, and I'm putting money on a player. And my options are Austin Matthews or Brad Marchand. I am putting my money on Brad Marchand all day long, every day, because Brad Marchand will cross-check you in the face. He'll spear you in the throat. He may try to kill you to get to that net and to score a goal. And that's what he's done in this playoffs. He has pissed off every player on that Toronto Maple Leafs and every fan in Toronto because of his FU style. I don't give a shit about you guys. I don't give a shit that you're Toronto Maple Leafs and you got the core four and you're all making 10, 11 million bucks a year. I am going to destroy you guys and I am going to enjoy every minute of it. And that's what he's done in the playoffs. And that's why Brad Marchand, to me, people can complain about him, but you would love to have him on your team. I love the guy, and I hope Boston finishes them off in Game 5 in Boston on Saturday night, because the fans and the media in Toronto are going to have an absolute meltdown. Their heads are going to explode. And if it does end in 5, guaranteed Sheldon Keefe will not be the coach of this team next year. I don't care that he's got 2 years left on his deal. They need a Craig Berube. They need a Joel Quenneville. They need somebody in there that knows how to win. And with this team right now, this core four that they people like to call it, it can't be a core four going into the next season. Somebody's got to get traded. Something's got to change. And what's that definition of what is it, idiocy or whatever, is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. You've got you're putting out the same core four players for the last 5 years. It's not working, Toronto. It's not working. So their heads will explode and heads are going to roll in Toronto. And it's unfortunate because a lot of people think that I enjoy this. I don't enjoy it because there's a lot of good Toronto fans out there, but there's a lot of Toronto fans that are very entitled and just downright mean and rude to people. And I just it's gonna be really interesting. Get your popcorn out because tomorrow night is gonna be fun. And listen, in closing, I want to give out a shout out to Bob Cole. Bob Cole was a legendary broadcaster for CBC for 50 years. He was the voice of the NHL growing up in Canada. When I was growing up in the 70s, and we had 3 TV channels in New Brunswick, one of them was French and the other 2 were English. And CBC carried Hockey Night in Canada on Saturday nights. And as a kid growing up in New Brunswick, I would be glued to that TV every Saturday night to watch my Toronto Maple Leafs usually play the Montreal Canadiens. Bob Cole fueled the fire in me to one day want to become an NHL player. His voice, you could feel, you could close your eyes and feel the emotion in the game, and it gave you chills just listening to Bob Cole and his famous "Oh baby." He carried and he broadcast so many big games uh, that the list is too long to list. He was a legend in the sport. He was a gentleman. I had the benefit of meeting him several times. It was always an honor to meet you, Mr. Cole. And may you rest in peace. 90 years old, from Newfoundland. You know, right there, he's a good person. And God bless your family through this difficult time. And thank you for all the great memories that you gave me as a little kid growing up in New Brunswick. Thank you to our sponsors, Bet Online, Protected, and Whiskey in the Wild. Also to Caffeine and Believe TV. And please watch and listen to us on all your podcasts. And thank you to nofilter.net. Let's look forward to the games tonight.